The cover page of One Piece chapter 1106, On Your Side, features Robin helping a crocodile with its fashion sense. Thanks to her, the reptile is now sporting sunglasses, a t-shirt, bandana, a bow, a pair of Crocs, of course, some striped trousers, and a cute tail sock. So for just one page, we've got Robin and a crocodile working together again. The chapter starts right where the last one ended off, though we're zooming out a bit. The destruction of Egghead is intense. The explosions are so big that even ships far away can see it, including this new massive ship that's just now getting close to the Marine blockade. That's got to be the one that wrecked Saturn's Kill the Refugee ship last chapter. They're finally getting close to the fight. Back on the island, by the food machine, Luffy's had enough rest. Now that he's done taking in all that food, he sheds his massive body fat in just a second. The Marines are shocked by how fast he was able to digest it all. One even suggests that Luffy might even gobble them up if they get any closer. And hey, he might be onto something here. Luffy totally looked like he was trying to do that in his fight with Rob Lucci. In fact, between Big Mom and Kaido, eating people might just be some sort of Yonko tradition. One of the cannon blasts hits right by the Marines, knocking a member of their squad off his feet. The whole area is almost entirely engulfed in fire thanks to the Buster Call and the bombardment. They really need to evacuate, but they've also got to do something with Luffy. They've got one of the most wanted pirates in the world right there at their mercy. One Marine tells the others to get this Emperor into sea stone cuffs. That way they can make sure he's not a threat. But Luffy's smiling. His hair's changing. He's already back into gear 5th. As expected, these guys do not have a chance. Luffy's got his work cut out for him though. The Marines are still firing on Egghead. They're mid-Buster Call. Every cannon they've got is shelling the place round after round. Even with some Marines still not evacuated, the artillery commander orders his men to keep firing into the blaze. They are not going to stop until the island is literally broken apart. And Bonney, Kuma, Frankie, and Atlas are falling through the air. Vegapunk's still trying to process this, but he decides to do something. Using his communicator, Vegapunk calls Atlas. She's still in the air right by Bonney and the rest. Saturn tells the pacifistas to fire, and they keep charging their lasers. But the call gets through. Vegapunk wants Atlas to tell Bonney something, a secret that only the Vegapunks know. Sanji's jumped into the air, trying to do something to help, even if he hasn't had time to figure out what. Atlas reaches Bonney and tells her the truth. Between the rush of air and the never-ending explosions, no one else could hear what was said. But Bonney is obviously shocked at this news. She just looks at Atlas, not sure if she can even believe this. But the pacifistas have almost finished charging, pulling their light right at their palm. There is no time to think about it. So Bonney yells at them. She calls out to all these copies of her dad like they're the original, asking him not to shoot. She wants him to help her and her new friends escape instead. Bonney looks down, hoping as hard as she can that this crazy idea actually worked. The pacifistas don't seem to be listening, just standing there impassively, the light glowing in their hands. The watching Marines can't work out what she's even said over the explosions. Perhaps her message was drowned out, but no, the giant cyborgs turn around, pointing their palms right at their Marine allies. It took them a minute to process the order, but they heard Bonney just fine. The ground troops are already trembling in fear. All the pacifistas are following this order, even the ones far away from the fight. The bombardment ships have no idea what's happening. Why are the cyborgs targeting them? But the Buccaneer clones are not providing answers. Instead, they just start blasting. The Marine ships close to Egghead have no chance. One blast is enough to make them splinter and crack. There is no more evacuation chance for those men still on Egghead, and that is just their first attack. Saturn doesn't look as shocked as his men. He's figured out what just happened. This has the Marines petrified though. The pacifistas just keep on firing at every ship in the bay, blowing Marines away with every explosive blast. This battle has entirely turned around. But this was Vegapunk's last trick. With Bonney sailing as a pirate, the idea that she'd end up killed by a pacifista gave the scientist nightmares. It was a cruel, dark joke that he couldn't just let happen. Vegapunk wasn't able to openly go against the deal Kuma struck with Saturn, but he snuck one last trick into his work. Bonney is the real, highest rank in the pacifista's command hierarchy. This way, no matter what happens, the world government cannot force Kuma to execute Bonney. Her orders will always outrank even those of the Gorosei. This could mean Bonney is also able to command the Seraphim since they use a very similar command hierarchy. With 4 of them in the basement, the Straw Hats may have some powerful allies waiting for them. But even if it's strictly the Kuma-looking ones, that is more than enough to make the world government sweat. Bonney being able to do this sounds like a crazy twist, something thrown in to get the characters out of this situation. But to be fair, Oda set it up over 40 chapters back. Remember when the Straw Hats just arrived on Egghead? Luffy, Chopper, Jinbei, and Bonney ran into a pacifista. It was ready to shoot them just like this. Oda didn't really show us how the group dealt with that situation, cutting away to Law's fight with Blackbeard. By the time the story got back to them, the Straw Hats were out of danger. Most fans figured it was Bonney's fruit that got them clear, aging the Straw Hats to make an impromptu disguise. That way, they wouldn't be recognized. But remember what Bonney specifically said before the cutaway. She didn't want them to hurt her dad. She was speaking to the Straw Hats, but it looks like the pacifista took that as an order to not hurt her or the guys she was with. A ceasefire. And now, we've got the logical endpoint of that. All the pacifistas going rogue. Since the ones that couldn't hear Bonney are obeying her orders, they've clearly got some kind of internal communication system. Bonney just got an army of her own. This is a massive L for the Marines and world government. Their attempts to contain Egghead are in shambles, and it is almost entirely because of Vegapunk's betrayal. And out of pure fury, Saturn runs the defenseless man through with one of his pointed legs. And man, this sure looks like a fatal wound. The philanthropist who gave the world government some of its greatest technology might just die because one of its leaders threw a temper tantrum. Vegapunk sputters, gasping for breath. Bonney screams, shocked at what just happened to one of her father's closest friends. But Saturn does not show a single inch of upset or guilt at killing the world's greatest scientist. Frankie curses as his idol's body hits the floor. He's too far away to do anything. Saturn orders Kizaru to eliminate the group in the air, and the Admiral does not hang around, moving at light speed. Saturn keeps being reluctant to join the fight. He held Bonney up to the Marines to shoot, rather than just use his strength to crush her. Now he's back to making Kizaru do the hard work. What's making this extremely powerful demon spider hold back? Is he conserving his strength for a fight against Nika? Regardless, Kizaru is not going to let the situation get any more confusing. He blitzes the fighters in the sky with light beams, everyone taking hits before he even reaches them. Sanji and Frankie are both covered in blood. Atlas pulls a gun, trying to shoot down Kizaru, but he is much too fast for that. The Admiral gets close with a light sword in hand. He brings it up over his head with a two-handed grip, planning on a massive blow. Even while he prepares to kill his former friends, Kizaru tries to apologize, saying that he will kill the pair together with one shot and it won't hurt. They'll be together in death. Bonney is not going to thank him though, and before Kizaru can land the attack, he hears a very familiar laugh. Before the Admiral can turn around, Luffy comes in with a sneak attack from behind. A Gear 5 supersized hockey punch is enough to knock Kizaru out of the air and stop the attack for now. Bonney is bewildered at the sudden attack, as Luffy's hand starts stretching back to his body. Luffy is here now, still laughing and at full power. The drums of liberation are echoing over Egghead. It is time for some fun. The falling group finally hits the ground, Kuma cushioning Bonney's fall while the rest touch down with a bit more skill. The Marines at sea can feel the island shaking due to Luffy turning the ground rubbery, but they've still got an army of pacifistas firing on them. Saturn is glowering at this new development, while Kizaru is nursing his head. Today is really not his day. Luffy is over here casually putting admirals on the bench now. Bonney runs for old Vegapunk, urging him to get up. They're going to die if they stay here. The old man has lost a lot of blood. His oversized tongue is just resting in it. Meanwhile, out in the scrapyard, the sound of the drums reaches the giant robot. And now its eyes are fully lit, and its motors are starting to hum. There is no question now. This ancient thing is awake. Back on the battlefield, Bonney just realized what the rhythm means. She thinks back to her conversation with Kuma and Nika, the times they danced together to that same beat, the Sun God's beat. Bonney's silent, just looking into the sky. Vegapunk, tired and in pain, manages to confirm what she's seeing. Luffy is Nika. He's jumping through the air, dancing just like Bonney and Kuma used to do. There is a tear in the Sorbet Princess's eye. Luffy doesn't even notice the threat. He's just grinning like always. Kuma looks up to his childhood hero, though there's still no signs of life in his eyes. Vegapunk's recovered enough to talk. Something like a Buster Call is a trivial matter to someone like Nika. People have been waiting for him for centuries. This will not be enough to stop him, and it is time for some of the Sun God's allies to show up. The ships around the northeast of Egghead have made contact with a stupidly massive ship. It is close to 3 times the size of these Marine warships with sails to match. And the Marines recognize the Jolly Roger, most likely from history class because they thought this crew had died 100 years ago. But here they are, and the ship is not slowing down. It is plowing right towards the Marines, ready to just smash their ships to bits through sheer bulk and keep on sailing. One panicking Marine commander orders his men to fire on the newcomers. The buster call is one thing, but if they don't stop this ship, they are going to sink. But it is no good. After all, what could cannonballs hope to do against the giant warrior pirates? That's right, its co-captains Dorry and Brogy are here to pick up Straw Hat Luffy. And they do not need any convincing. They already know that he is their god, Nika. Oh my goodness, what a satisfying chapter of One Piece. If you are a real fan, you might have even shed a tear for how hyped this is. This man Oda is really built different. There's also the fact that every buster call we have ever seen has always included friendly giants. It's hard to see what the Marines could even hope to do against this. Between the pacifistas and the giants, they're running out of ships to use for the buster call. If nothing else, there are enough ships down that if the Sunny can reach the sea, they should be able to sail away. The biggest problem right now though is Vegapunk. Luffy promised Sentomaru that he would get the old man off of Egghead Island. Now that he's so badly injured, it's going to be more difficult than ever to try and get him to safety. Granted, Sentomaru might want to throw hands with the geezer at this point since his life or death battle against the pacifistas could have been totally avoided if Vegapunk spoke up sooner. But obviously he didn't until now because of how severe of a crime it is. The doctor can accept placing a target on his own back, but with this reveal, Bonney is no longer in existence that the world government can afford to ignore. That bounty of hers is about to skyrocket. Luffy and the Straw Hats are not just leaving Egghead with the greatest scientists in the world. They have what Big Mom and the world government have always wanted: an army of giants. We've got countless Buccaneer clones, the legendary giant pirates, and the ancient giant golem. Meanwhile, we haven't even made it to Elbaf yet. Hell, we already have the new giant warrior pirates as part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Egghead Island has just been one big power-up for the Straw Hats, and I am having a great time. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.